Hey guys, Target here and welcome to another episode of Design and Manage, a City Skylines and Modded Let's Play series. Today I think we can get our hands dirty with public transport and give the citizens of New Tadema new ways of traveling around the city. But first, there are some issues that we need to address in our new industrial district. Let's check it out. Okay guys, so this is the industrial district that we have built on the previous episode. I've been getting a lot of comments regarding this layout. Overall, the feedback has been greatly positive, but I've been receiving some criticism because it appears your boy Target has made a couple of oopsies. Well, not really oopsies, but some details that I have failed to pay attention to. The first one is actually the direction of this little roundabout that gives access to the cargo station. Now, a lot of people have been telling me this is actually the wrong way, which I didn't really pay attention at first because this isn't really a roundabout, it's more like an access point to the cargo station itself. But as someone explained to me, the way cargo stations are designed is so that trucks get out from the left side and get in from the right side. So as you can see in the footage, trucks that want to get out and leave the cargo station need to wait first for the trucks to get in the cargo station. So if you follow this design in your city and you have this thing set out so that you have a one-way road leading to the cargo station, it's actually recommended that you twist it around and make it so that the direction comes from right to left and not from left to right as I have over here. So I think by addressing that issue is going to improve the traffic flow in this area, so that's something we can do right away. Okay, this should help with traffic a bit better. Now let's just remodel a few of these connections as well. So I think I want to make a one-way road over here, and I think we also need to change the orientation of these roads as well, just for an easier access. So this one should be leading traffic to this layout, and this road should leave traffic out of the layout. And I think we can also change this entire direction. Now I also think we can add another connection in this part of the layout as well, so perhaps we can add another road and finish the connection here. Okay, let me just make sure that everything is zoned with industry. I think we can keep this road to lead trucks out of the layout, and we can also keep this one leading trucks into the roundabout. So I think that's gonna do it. Let's just resume the simulation, see if it fixed the problem. It seems that trucks getting out of the cargo station now have an easier way of doing so. The second comment that I received is that this roundabout is actually going the wrong way. Other people even told me that a roundabout is not really necessary because both ways or both roads are leading out of the layout. Even though that is true right now, I've never said that I didn't want to build anything in this area of the map right here, or that I didn't want to add another road leading over here to this side as well. But anyway, for the time being, I agree that the roundabout is not really necessary, so we are going to build the exact same thing that we have done over here, just to make it a bit more practical. Okay, so now we just need to fix the orientation of these roads, like so. And I think I also want to add a couple of lanes to make merging a bit easier, so this can be a two-lane road, and both of these can be one-lane roads so that each one of these lanes merges perfectly into one of the lanes into this segment here. So let's just upgrade all of this until here perhaps. And this one can be done the same way. Okay, this is now working much nicer, but it appears that cars coming from this segment are not merging into this specific lane, which is what I want, and they are instead coming into this lane, which is reserved for this road. And I think that is relatable to the angle that this road has with this road. If you see here, the arrow that's on this segment is indicating a right turn, and this one is signaling no direction at all. So I think what we want to do is convert this road into a way that it has a left turn. Let's try it out. Okay, let's see if it works. Let's put it on 3 speed. And there we go, it appears that every single truck is going into the left lane, except for certain police cars, but I think we can live with that. Okay, and with this I think traffic is flowing much more nicely in our industrial district. Finally, what I want to do before moving on is touch on these power stations. On the last video I actually placed these things, these solar power plants, but these were not the power plants that I wanted to place, so I'm actually going to delete every single one of those, and I'm going to place the actual power plants that I want to use, which are the solar updraft towers. So I am going to place 3 of them right off the bat, and if necessary we can adjust the budget because these things are powerful. But anyway guys, let's move on to other parts of the city. Thank you so much for your comments, keep them coming. Okay guys, but the main theme of this episode is going to be public transport. I'm not going to build a very big public transport network because the current population does not justify that, but I want to add in a few more options for people to go into their jobs, especially now that we have moved the industrial district far away from the city. And also because traffic is getting a bit chaotic, so if I go into the traffic view we can see that our traffic flow is 75%, and it's basically this main avenue and also these segments that are clogged. We will eventually address this issue much more in depth in future videos by adding more highway connections, but I also think public transport may help with that. So what I'm gonna do is add a metro system that will cover most of the area around the main avenues that we have. So we are going to have a line at about over here and another one serving this main avenue as well. Then it will connect with a train station or a train hub here, which will give the option for citizens to switch into a train and go into the industrial sector. Then we are going to complement these 2 public transport options with some bus lines. So anyway, let's just pause the simulation and start building. I want to build my transport hub at about this location. I think it's a good central location for it. We can start by deleting this very ugly train curve because it's not going to be needed. I also think I want to disable some of these trees. And finally, I also think I want to flatten the terrain because if I go to the terrain overview, we have quite a big slope. So let me just try and address that. It appears that our soil bar is full, so I need to unload a bit of dirt over here. Okay, I think we now have enough room to flatten out this entire thing, and I'm already messing up. There we go, fix everything. Later on we will work on the slope, but for the time being we'll keep it as it is. Now we can straighten out our train line, and I think I want one train line that is perfectly parallel to this road here. So let's just make a straight line and finally connect it. Okay, now what I want to do is create a bit more room so we have more space to work with, and I want to create a parallel train line to the existing line that we have so that we don't have trains clogging up the main infrastructure, the main regional line. And with this I think we're finally able to place our first station. I don't want to go with something too complex, so I think I'm going to start off with the regular train and metro hub, because those are the 2 main services that we need right now. So let's delete this and let's just place it. Okay, perfect. I still don't know what I want to do with this layout, but for the time being we can leave these little grids. I'm just going to connect the avenue with the main road infrastructure. And we can even convert this into an avenue. And why not curve it a little bit, like so, perfect. Now I think it's time for us to create our metro stations. I think I'm going to place one right at the entrance of the town, right next to this intersection. And another one right about over here. Now I want some more stations servicing this little avenue. So I think I'm gonna place one right next to the police station, and another one at this junction as well. And finally we can put another one, what about right next to the high school? I think that's a good place for it. Let's just make sure that everything looks good and not awkward. And I think this is going to be pretty much it for our starting system. But for now, let's just connect the stations. So let's connect the station over here. Let's make a few connections here as well. Hopefully the tunnel is not going to bother us. No, it won't. Perfect. And now I need to connect this line at about a 45-degree angle. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this should be it, 45-degree angle, so that the turn is not too sharp. There we go. And now let's finish up the line and connect it to the main station, where people will be able to switch off between trains and metros. I think I will want to come up at about here. Now let's just connect. And there we go, perfect. The metro is now complete, so now we can pass and move on to the trains. So in order to do the train infrastructure, first and foremost, I need to connect this main railroad. So let's make a connection here and another one over here as well. And now we need to add another station to this layout, which is going to be a challenge because we already have a lot of stuff here. But I think we can make it work. So what I want to do, I think I'm going to place it right about in this junction because I think we have quite a room for it. I am going to delete this elevated pathway. We are also going to delete this temporarily, and perhaps this zone, these factories as well. Okay, and now we can build our passenger train station right about, I don't know, let's see, right about here. Now we just need to find a way to connect everything. So let's analyze what we have right now. So trains will have to go through this junction here, they will have to go left and go through this entire way. And I think we can use this main railroad that we already have. And here it can split into two. And one of the lines is going to the passenger station and the other line is going to the cargo station. So let's bring the cargo line all the way over here. Let's delete these highways and continue the railway over here. Let's make a curve and let's see if we can do the same with the passenger train station. It seems that we have very little room, so I think I want to scoot this over a little bit. Let's make a big curve here and connect it, and let's try to do the same on this side. Right about here. Okay, looks better. Now let's see if we can reconnect the highway. So one connection here and finally another connection there. Perfect. Now we just need to connect the rail here and finally connect it with the main cargo station as well. And I think this is going to be smooth enough. Yeah, it works for me. And now finally we need to reconnect this, or at least we need to find a way for it. Okay, there we go. For the time being, I think this connection is going to be enough to handle the current amount of trains. Now we can just make a few lines, so we are going to want a line here connecting both of these stations. And we also will want a metro line connecting all the stations we have, so we are going to have a main line coming all the way here. So now let's connect every single station. Okay, and this will be our first line, and then we'll have a secondary line going around the circular avenue. And for now we only can connect these stations. That's going to be fine. Okay guys, and with this we can resume the simulation and see if people start using our new public transport options. Oh, and look at this. I see a lot of stuff upgrading. And we already have a lot of people using the lines. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of people over here waiting for the train to go to the work. And here they go. Let's follow it. And now there are a couple of things that we can use to increase the walkability in this particular district. As you see, people are using this pathway a lot by going from one side of the railroad to the other, but I think we can expand it and make it even better. So what I'm gonna do is actually delete this little segment here, and I think I'm gonna expand it all the way here. Let's make it cross, and now let's bring it all the way back down. And let's give them an option of going here as well. And let's also give them an option of going into these crosswalks as well, just to add a little bit of options. And there you go, look at that, perfect. Except this is not perfect. Okay, cool, people are using it a lot. I think we can do the same and give an option for people to come here because we have already an existing pathway, so we can take advantage of that and connect it here. And connect the two segments. Okay, I think that's going to be enough. As we have increased the walkability around our train station, we need to make sure that the same happens in our metro station. So what I want to go is come over here and make sure that people have an easy access to all the metro stations. So this one, as you can see, is fairly well connected with these pathways and also a pathway that connects to this part of the avenue. People can go and cross the walkway here. Let's go to the next one. This one is also very nicely served with a pathway here that goes to the other part of the district and a couple of pathways, and it's right next to an intersection, so lots of crosswalks. And I believe the same applies with every single station that we have. In here, for example, I think we can even put an additional connection, so let's bring it all the way here. Okay. And we already have a lot of people using our network. We have about 600 people using the metro and about 250 using the trains. If I go to the budget panel, it seems that we are almost, well, we are actually making a profit in the metro and we are incurring in a big loss in trains, which is normal because trains are very expensive to maintain. Okay, so we have added metros and we have added trains, and we have dramatically increased the coverage of public transport in our city. However, there are some areas that are not yet covered because the metro does not reach everywhere within the city. For example, even though people are willing to walk short distances, and by short I mean a couple of blocks, people are not willing to walk from this side to this metro, for example. This is too far away. And maybe even people over here and also some people right here in the middle of the district between the two stations. So what I want to do to increase the coverage of public transport is add a complementary public transport option that will take people from their local houses into the metro stations that will allow them to travel anywhere within the city. And for that I am going to use buses. Now you can actually use several types of buses. I'm going to use the biofuel buses because they are much quieter, or in other words, they produce less noise pollution. And for that I need to place first and foremost the station where buses are going to come out of, and I'm going to place it here for the time being. And with this we can now create a few bus lines. So the first line that I want to do is a line that brings people from this area, the low density residential, into this metro station, and also this one. So I'm gonna make a couple of lines and I want to stretch as far as possible. So let's just go and try to increase coverage as much as possible. Okay, and now I want to make the final stop at about over here. And then people can just walk through this pathway until the metro station. I'm trying to avoid creating routes where buses have to go through the main avenue because this area already has a lot of traffic. So I'm just gonna connect back, and I think I'm going through the exact same stops. Here I can just connect directly here, and now finally we can bring it back. Okay. Now we have our first line, and as you can see, these houses are already upgrading, so public transport is a very nice way of increasing the land value of your city. I like to keep my bus lines short and direct, straight to the point. So there we go, we have another line. Now the way people are going from this line into the station is by coming out into this stop, so we need to add a quicker way for people to go from this side of the road into the station, and for that pathways are always the most direct way. So I'm simply going to connect this intersection to this little pathway that we have here. Now people can just leave the bus here or here if they're on this side of the road, cross the road in this crosswalk, and just go through this pathway and arrive at the station. So this is pretty much the logic and how I view public transport, and it usually works out pretty well. Now let's just make another couple of lines and cover the entire city. Okay, and here we have another couple of lines. Now let's make sure that people here have an easy way to access this metro station. They can go around this road, but I think we can make the journey a little bit easier just by adding another option. Right here, perfect. Okay guys, so I've been working around this area. I've added bus lines to the entire city, or to the entire downtown area. I have also tried to make the routes between buses and metro stations as efficient as possible. So for example, when we have these cases where we have a station on the other side of the avenue, to the bus station, I've actually provided some elevated pedestrian pathways that makes easier for people to transition between one public transport option and the other. As you can see here, people are already using a lot of the elevated pathway, which is great. It definitely improves the walkability in your city. So this is one example, but I've pretty much done the same in every single area where this applies. So here we have another case where we have a stop here, and we have a metro station at about this junction. So again, another elevated pass, and another one here as well, feeding this stop and also this station. And finally, I built another one at about here, right next to the Grand Mall, connecting these two bus stops to this metro station, and people use them. They love pedestrian pathways. Now you might notice that in some areas you will have some bus stops with a lot of people. So for example, over here, this is actually a lot of people. And you can do this by two ways. You can either add another line that comes here. So for example, if I go into the bus lines, I see that this line is serving the majority of this area. But I can bring this line, for example, all the way over here to increase the number of buses that will bring passengers to this particular station. Another thing that you can do is go into your transport tab and click here. This is the overview of the buses. So if you click it, you can see all the lines that you have. And here you can see the number of passengers that each line has. If you click one line in particular, On the left side you can see the buses, which are the moving objects, and how many people they have. So this one, for example, is carrying 10 people out of 30, and here we can see the number of people waiting at the stops. So this one is not very problematic. 28 people at one stop is very healthy. But if we go to another line, for example, let's see this one in particular, we can see that we have some stops with over 150 people. So if I actually click on the stop, I can go to the particular location of that line and we can diagnose the problem. So this is the exact same problem that we verified on the other line. We currently only have this line bringing people to these two stops, so what I could do is take this line and make some more stops at around these junctions to increase the number of buses going into these particular stops. Another thing that I can do is actually raise the budget of this particular line. So right now we have a total of 5 vehicles available. If I increase the budget, I can increase the number of buses available for this line. And for the time being, I think I'm going to choose a total of 8 buses. So this should be the right budget. In this panel, you can also see the efficiency of the bus line. In this line over here, for example, you can see that this particular line is saving 60% of the car trips. One particular best practice that I like to adopt is go throughout every single bus line that I have, check the efficiency and check if the amount of vehicles that we have is more than enough for the current amount of people that we have waiting at the stops, and make adjustments if necessary. Another thing that you can do to increase the walkability of your city and make citizens not rely so much on public transport is use a lot of pathways. As I've said, pedestrians love to walk in these pathways. So what I'm gonna do, because we have such a big dense city in this area, and because we also have a couple of metro stations, 3 to be exact, what I think I'm gonna do is make a gigantic elevated pedestrian pathway that connects the 3 of them and make on and off ramps throughout the area that it covers to give people an option to go through every single metro station without relying on cars and on buses. This will decrease the amount of stress in our public lines. So that's something that I want to do right away, so I think I want to pause the simulation. I am going to delete this little segment, and I think I'm going to bring the pathway all the way over here. I'm going to destroy a lot of buildings in the process, but that's okay, so let's make it. I think I want to bring it all the way and connect it with this one that we already have, and make another connection here right next to the bus stop. Now I want to connect it directly with the metro station, so I'm gonna make a little connection here, and I'm gonna bring my pathway all the way and eventually connect with this pathway as well. So let me scoot over this pathway a bit to the left and make our overhead pathway come and connect over there. Okay? If this type of elevation bothers you because it's so steep, you can fix it simply by scooting over a little bit the pathway to the back. Like so, and with this we are going to delete a bit more buildings, but that's okay. Here, like this is much better. So now I want to keep going and now connect with this metro station, so I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I am going to continue the pathway here. And now we can simply connect the segment with the existing pathway network. Like this. Perfect. And now the only thing that we're missing is adding a few on and off ramps to this elevated pathway. So we already have one here. Now let's provide another one right about in this location. Or maybe over here right next to the intersection to cover more area. I think I want to go with another one right about here at this intersection as well. Let's make another one here. Here is also another good place for a connection. So let's make a rectangular shape here. We can even dezone this little residential because we're not going to have anything in there. We're not going to want it. And in some other areas you can even try out and do some interesting shapes. For example, I can make a little pathway or a little pathway roundabout going at about here, which will connect to both sides of the road underneath the main elevated pathway. And we can eventually connect it at about here. And we can even dezone this residential here for something much more pleasing. And upgrade the pathway to a pathway without trees to remove the clipping trees. Yep, and look at this, I barely just unpaused the simulation and people are already using our pathways. And it seems that they do not mind walking long distances at all. Look at this, the entire area is being covered. And people are using all the segments of the pathway. Okay guys, coming back to our industrial district, this area also needs its own public transport network, because even though we increase the walkability around the train station, people still cannot walk from this station to the most distant parts of the layout, for example this square over here. I also do not want to add any buses in this area because these roads are already very populated with a lot of trucks. So what I thought we could use is actually trams. Trams travel along specific tracks of road, but they also have their own tracks that you can place outside the main layout that you have. And this way you can have a completely traffic-free tram circuit. Now what I think I want to do is use these tram tracks to cover much of the layout as possible, without interfering with the main traffic situation. Adding another public transport option to this layout will also help level up the zoning to level 3, because right now we have these level 3 buildings, but the rest of it is level 2. So adding another public transport option is gonna help us upgrade the existing buildings. So first and foremost we need to place our tram depot, and for that I think we are gonna need to delete one of these roads. And let's place it right about over here. We can even add a secondary road here to separate both facilities. Now we can start thinking about the locations where we want our trams to stop. So I know that I want to have my very first stop right about in front of the train station. So let's upgrade all of these to roads with tram tracks. And now I think we can start using the customized tram tracks to go and move away from the main layout of the city. Now I think I'll want to have an elevated tram line that will bring people all the way to this part of the layout. And now we can connect both pieces of segment. And now what I think I'm gonna do is actually bring the tram tracks and cross through this layout right about here. So if I bring a segment here, we can see that I'm not going to interfere with any of the zoning, but unfortunately I will have to delete these segments of road, but that's going to be okay. And I'm also gonna need to adjust this ramp as well. And now I think I want to connect the tram track directly to the train station over here. And I know this is going to sound counterproductive because that will involve deleting the elevated pathways that we have just created. I bet you didn't know you could connect the back of a passenger train station to a pathway, right? Now you know. Okay guys, so I've just adjusted the entire pathway network all over again. I have finished up the tram network, so now we can resume the simulation and create our first tram stops. I am going to make the first stop right in front of our passenger train station. Let's go all around the layout and make a stop here, another stop there, perhaps another one here, and now we can connect it directly to our train station. Okay guys, our tram line seems to be working okay. We have a lot more buildings that have been upgraded to level 3. And I know that I could upgrade these tram tracks to one-way tram tracks, but I still haven't decided if I want to build another line that goes clockwise to complement the one that we already have. Before finishing up this video, I want to see the results that the implementation of this public transport system has done in our city. So we can see that we have over 1,000 people using buses, 31 using trams, and a couple 500 and 200 using metros and trams If I go into the traffic tab, we can see that the traffic flow has improved from 74 to 81%, which is pretty good. And I think when we start implementing more highway connections, this area is going to be completely free of traffic. Well, not free, but much more manageable and without these clogs. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I know that we haven't been expanding our city lately in the past couple of episodes, but on the next episode we are going to start expanding our city a bit more and start bringing a few more residents into the city. So stay tuned for that. I hope you have enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next episode. Have a good one, and as always, have fun!